Hey, what's up, fantasy managers? This episode is Thursday Night Football Player Pause. Our version are start or sit. I'm doing 6 players from the Detroit Lions. If you have any questions about those players, stick around for 7 seconds. You can do it! So this was recorded on 9/26, so there's a few things I might change the next few days. But let's go ahead and get going with the Detroit Lions stuff. The overall for this game is 45.5, and the Lions are 12th in scoring, averaging around 24 points per game, and the Packers are averaging 26 points per game. So I want to talk about the Lions offensive line and the battle of the trenches. According to Pro Football Network, the Lions have the 3rd best offensive line, and the Packers all in all have the 23rd ranked defense. And now for the Detroit Lions injuries, right guard with a name I cannot pronounce. I can't believe this is even a word, but I will put it up here so you guys can see it. He did not practice today, and offensive tackle Matt Nelson, ankle, is likely to go into IR. He also didn't practice today. And the ones that were limited in practice today was running back David Montgomery, left tackle Taylor Decker, left guard Jonah Jackson, and all 3 are leaning towards playing Thursday night. All right, so now the player pause for Thursday Night Football. Let's start with the quarterback, Jared Goff. Jared is 4-1 against the Packers, and he went 2-0 against them last year. Even though in the last game that they played against, he did not throw a touchdown against the Packers, he still averages 2 touchdowns a game against the Packers and also averages 228 passing yards against them. Right now, going into week 4, Packers are 13th in quarterback scoring and 11th in passing yards allowed at 199 a game. If you waited on Jared Goff in your draft, you're probably doing well because he is QB 10 and he's averaging 18 points a game. This game is at Green Bay, and Green Bay is a tough place to play at. The Saints last week went to Green Bay, and the Packers only allowed 175 passing yards. I mean, Derek Carr went out, Jameis Winston come in, but you get the picture. It's hard to play there. Jared Goff is in the middle of the pack in passing attempts, averaging around 34 a game. Jared Goff against the Falcons last week attempted 23 passes in the first half because of a lack of a running game against Atlanta's front 7. Falcons are 5th in running back scoring. Their front 7 is legit. That's a pretty good run defense. And the Lions had the lead in the second half, so they didn't require Jared Goff to throw much more after that. I think he only had 10 more passes in the second half. But he still ended with 17 points on the game, which is good. And for this season, Jared Goff's completion percentage is 69.9%, and that's 5.2 over expectation. The running game should do better in this game, but Jared Goff can easily throw for 200 yards and 2 touchdowns. I play Jared Goff. Now, speaking of the running game, I want to talk about Jahmyr Gibs, who could be the lead back again if David Montgomery is out. Some stats for the Packers defense is that they are 27th in the league with allowing 136 rushing yards a game. Packers are 3rd in targets to opposing running back, and they're tied for 2nd in receptions to running back with 20 on the season. But a good stat for Jahmyr Gibbs owners is that Detroit are 9th in rushing attempts a game at 30. As a starter against the Falcons last week, Jahmyr Gibbs had 17 rushes on 80 yards, but he didn't have any touchdowns. He did not look good running. But he still had 17 rushes on the game, even though he looked ineffective. I'm telling you, Atlanta's defensive line is legit. The point is, they kept giving him the rock when Montgomery was out. And now he faces a divisional rival who's 27th in running back scoring a game. Gibbs is a well-known catcher in college, and like I said earlier, the Packers are tied for 2nd to receptions to opposing running backs. This is set up to be a Jahmyr Gibbs breakout game if David Montgomery is out. If Montgomery plays, I would still put him in the flex because of the matchup. You want to play him. I want to play him, so play Jahmyr Gibbs. So now let's talk about the running back who may or may not play for Thursday night, and that's David Montgomery. Like I said during the injury report, he was limited in practice today. Dave Campbell reported saying that he's starting to feel pretty good about Montgomery's chances to play on Thursday night. So if he plays Thursday night, he'll be back taking the majority of the carries, because right now there's no word of a pitch count. Montgomery is averaging 18 carries in the 2 games he played. He had 21 carries against the Chiefs, even though his yards per carry was trash, but Dan Campbell does not care. He just wants to run down his opponent's throats. I think the most important stat for David Montgomery owners is that both his touchdowns came within the 10-yard line and the 5-yard line. Dan Campbell likes to run the ball at the goal line, and Montgomery is the goal line back. Because of his volume and because he's a goal line back, he has the potential to put up RB2 numbers Thursday night. If he's active, you play David Montgomery. All right, so let's go over to the wide receiver core and start with Amon Ra St Brown from USC. St. Brown is wide receiver 11th, and he's going up against a defense that's 11th in scoring for receivers. His stats last year in 2 games against the Packers went 10 receptions on 18 targets at 106 yards and 0 touchdowns. the Packers appear to do well against Amon Ra St Brown, who is also coming off from back-to-back 100-yard games. I mean, this player, if it's zone, he sits in open space. If it's man, he does a drag route. It's literally play action with Jared Goff standing behind his great offensive line, waiting for an Amon Ra St Brown to run through the middle before he makes his pass. Brown only has 3 catches in the middle of the field in 2 games. His average separation in week 3 was 3.3 yards. His catch rate this season is 75%. His average snap percent is 88. He leads the Lions in targets with 28. He leads the Lions in receptions with 21. And surprise, he leads the Lions in receiving with 275 yards. Sounds like another tough matchup at Lambeau Field, but play Amon Ra St Brown. Like you would sit him if I said so. So now let's talk about the number 2 wide receiver, the invisible man, Josh Reynolds. Reynolds was dealing with a groin injury all last week, and I can understand the pain. If I had a groin injury, I'm calling into work for about a week saying I have COVID just to heal up. But Reynolds registered 0 receptions on 0 targets, and he only played 77% of the snaps. I'm concerned about his injury because he was not even on the game plan last week. Plus, he only averages 4.5 receptions on 6.5 targets. He's going against a tough secondary where he might match up against Alexander if he plays when Amon Ra St Brown is playing the slot. I pause on Josh Reynolds. Now let's finish this thing up with the tight end, Sam LaPorta. In week 3, he was tight end 1. And he's tight end 2 overall. Packers are 17th against tight end scoring. And the Packers gave up a passing touchdown to a 40-year-old tight end last week. Against the Falcons, Sam LaPorta had 8 receptions on 84 yards, 1 touchdown, and 11 targets. You heard right, 11 freaking targets, and a 45-yard touchdown off of, guess what? Yeah, a play-action pass. And during that game, he was second in receptions and targets behind Amon Ra St Brown. In the last 3 games, he's had 5 targets, 6 targets, and 11 targets. LaPorta appears to be gaining more and more of Jared Goff's trust. If he isn't throwing it to Gibbs or Reynolds, he's throwing it to LaPorta. So for Thursday night, I play Sam LaPorta. All right, so that's the end of the episode. I want to thank you for watching. Tyler's video is coming out Thursday with the Packers player pause. If you haven't already, if you could please hit the subscribe, press the like. It goes a long way. We really appreciate it. Thank you for watching, and we have more videos coming out. Until then, deuces.